What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about OnyxCoin today, XCN. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, you guys. It is the 28th day of June, and here we are, just below 1.5 cents. 1 day, 9 hours left in this week here. 2 days, 9 hours left in the month. We're coming up on some significant closing time frames here. 8 hours, 30 minutes left in the day, right? Moving down a little bit, down 1.7% on the day. Nothing too crazy, right? I don't expect anything too crazy to happen over the coming days. But if Bitcoin were to drop 10% or so, you guys, if we were to see a lower low, no, sorry, not lower low than that, a lower low than the low that we saw on last Sunday, right, about a week ago here. If we were to go below this low, we would likely drop about 10 to 11%. If Bitcoin drops 10 to 11%, altcoins may drop 20% or more. And that's just something that we should be aware of, right? If OnyxCoin were to drop 20% or more, that would imply that we see lower lows. Is that a bad thing if OnyxCoin sees lower lows? Probably not. We'd probably still have higher lows in the RSI, right? Some form of bullish divergence on the daily, 3-day time frame, maybe even the weekly time frame. We'll see. From a low here to a high, we're still in the golden ratio zone. So no, a double bottom in the golden ratio zone. That's not anything to be afraid of. But 20% drop can be scary, especially if you're not prepared for it. So just understand that that is a possibility. I'm not considering it as a likelihood. I'm just considering it as a possibility and something that we should at least address, right? Looking at this on the 15-minute time frame, let's look at the short-term stuff and see if we can. And especially, I especially don't think that we're going to go down there because we've broken out of our downtrend in the daily RSI. That doesn't mean we can't go lower. We absolutely can. I just think we're in a more momentary kind of uptrend here. And likely what we'd see is actually a bounce kind of off of this area just below the 50. Then we would go to the oversold zone, right? And if we were to go to the oversold area just above it, just below it, whatever, that's probably what it would take to get the price below this low here. If we're looking at this on a 15-minute time frame, 15-minute time frame, there we go. We'll get rid of that, okay. Kind of have a flat base, right? A flat base. I wouldn't say we have descending lows. You have a flat base and flat high. It's almost like you're in a horizontal channel here, but you're coming down into it. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, kind of boring. I don't think that we're moving up though, right? I don't think this would detail us moving up. So looking at the 15-minute time frame here, higher highs in the RSI. You don't really have higher highs in the price. That is a form of hidden bearish divergence. I think that we're just waiting, cooling off to get oversold again, and that's where we're probably making our way down there right now, honestly. This might even be like a very miniaturized bull flag or bear flag, I should say, but I don't know. I would think the RSI does look bearish at the moment. We'll see if it does. If it's true, then over the coming hours, by the end of the day, we should be at lower prices than we are now. 1 hour time frame here, 15 minutes not really giving us a lot, but that's fair because it's pretty neutral. You're not going to get like a directional heading from any indicator whenever you're neutral. 1 hour RSI, rejecting the 50 time and time again, finding higher lows, which is nice, double top, which is not. You're kind of rounding out here. I do like the price action a little bit. I gotta say, like rounding like that is kind of nice, but on a short-term time frame, I think that can be deceiving. Really, it looks like you have a flat base and you do have descending highs actually. So down. But bearish patterns don't perform as well in uptrends, right? And I know we're in a momentary downtrend here, but we're overall in an uptrend. I didn't mean to circle that. I meant to circle all of this here. All of that there. Anyways, I'm thinking we go down. So if we go down, how far are we going to go? Let's put on some fibs here. From a low to a high. Low to high here. Rejecting the golden ratio. Likely we would go lower. The 1272 to the 1618, something around 1.45 to 1.42 cents. Maybe at the lowest 1.35 cents. Let's put some, I think that we'll probably go to the golden ratio. If not to that golden ratio, maybe this golden ratio at the 2618, something like that. And we could go just above this line or even just above this line, somewhere in between this zone. But I'm thinking somewhere most likely in between that area is where we're going to go, just based off of this low to high here. We'll see. And I'm giving it the deeper extensions because with smaller fib ranges, typically you do go to the deeper extensions. That's what you look for. So the primary target zone is still the primary target zone, the 1272 to the 1618, but it's more typical of these small fib ranges to go into the secondary target zone, right? 1 hour RSI to me does look bearish, being held down by the 50. Yes, you have higher lows and lower lows. I wouldn't call it bullish divergence. I don't think it is. I think you're just cooling off. really it's like you have higher highs here while having lower highs here, right? I guess no, maybe. Yes, yeah, you do have higher highs in the RSI, lower highs there. It's neutral, but I think with a bearish tilt. It's not absurdly bearish, but I don't get a bullish vibe from the 1 hour, okay? 4 hour time frame, even more bearish, right? Nothing crazy. I mean, overall it's bullish actually. I should say even more bullish, but right now momentarily it looks bearish. So I would think that we go down a little bit lower where we found support before in the RSI, right? Where we found support at the 40, maybe the 35, 30, whatever, something in that zone, a little bit lower. If we were to find support at this area, I think we would have done it already, but we haven't, so we're probably going to go lower. Keeping in mind our low to high golden ratio 1618 and 2618 zone here. If we're taking the low to high, come on now. Low to high. We're just below the 382. Yeah, I would think that we go to this golden ratio zone, which actually the 61869 there is right in the heart, kind of the center of the fib extensions that we have here. And it would make sense that we go to the secondary zone. So yeah, something around maybe even just below 1.4 cents. Just below there, like literally 1.39 cents. Nothing too crazy, right? Just below there. If not a little bit closer to 1.35, but something in that area. Sounds about right to me. Let's see. What else do we have? Maybe this one. High to low. 1272 down to this golden ratio. It's a little bit higher. I have to admit, it'd be kind of odd to get below 1.44 cents. Maybe we move this line up as like a maximum of this range. Maybe we do move up or hold support at 1.44. Is there a reason to find support there on these extensions, low to high? That is your 1414, isn't it? Yeah, it's right there. Okay, so yeah, it's possible. If you find support, direct support at the 1414, or the golden ratio, that actually would be very bullish. So something to consider. Maybe we do find support just above the 1.4 or 1.4 cent. 1.4 to 1.44, something in there maybe. 1.39 to 1.44 cents. I like this because you found direct support off of that, or resistance off that 1272, resistance off of the 886 here. It wouldn't surprise me if you found support right off this golden ratio here, this 618 at 1.44 cents, a little bit lower, and then something like that. If you closed a day down there, maybe you wick below the golden ratio, but you close a day down there, that should get you like right off the 40 there. That wouldn't be bad at all. 1.44 to 1.39, 1.36, something in there, right? I'm a little bit more pro finding support above 1.4 cents now than I was earlier in this video, okay? But a little bit lower nonetheless, right? We're at 1.48. It's not like we're talking about huge numbers here, but still, that's the expectation. Daily time frame then would get a little bit of a move down, probably find support, back test this prior trend line here from a high here coming down, lower highs, right? You'll back test that trend line there. Find support right here, just a little bit lower, right off the 50 area, and then get ready to rip and run to the overbought zone. When we get overbought, when we're moving up and we're above the 60, maintaining above the 60 and the overbought zone, we should be breaking out of this range overall. I would think that that takes us up to prices that are above 2 cents, right? If this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern, like we kind of theorized it was yesterday, right? It's an ugly one. It's a really ugly one, and I'm not normally a fan of ugly head and shoulders patterns, but if it wasn't for how perfect this high was, I might be less, or I might be more skeptical. We'd have to find support though below this line. If this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern, because you have a slightly lower high here, I would anticipate then a slightly lower low here, which would then imply that we do go below 1.39 cents. It's a little game in the head, isn't it? Low to high. Golden ratios right there. I mean, it makes sense. It wouldn't be crazy to go below there. And now I'm back on the idea that we find support. But even if we don't, even if it's not down here, even if it goes down here, this isn't an inverse head and shoulders pattern, whatever, we're still moving up higher. We're going to break out. We're going to see some fantastic growth. OnyxCoin is ready to get overbought. The last time we got overbought, we saw from a low to a high in the course of basically a week, less than a week, a 3.6x move. The last time we got overbought in the daily RSI, that's what happened, right? This is a rejection. We got a little bit in there, but that doesn't count. Even then though, from a low to a high over 2 days, we moved up like 50%. So we'll take it, right? We'll take the rejection. Move us up 50%. Go for it. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully we actually get into the overbought zone. The time before that, we saw miraculous growth as well, right? Sustained miraculous growth. Even here when we were overbought overall, I mean, this took a little bit more than a week, but maybe like 2 weeks from a low to a high. 2.6x right there. Hundreds of percentages in growth is what's coming our way once we get overbought on the daily RSI. So that'll be very exciting. If we're looking at this kind of in this trajectory, let's just see like higher highs here, right? Trying to draw a straight line. Higher lows here, something like that maybe, right? A little parallel channel. It'd be, sometime between, at this rate, man, the beginning, the first week to like the 24th, right? Early July to late July, that we should be in that overbought zone. So at some point in July, we're going to be moving up, and I wouldn't think that we're just going to move up to 2 cents, right? I would think that move, if we move up 2.6x like we did last time, that should get us to 5.6 cents or something like that. And I do anticipate this next move overall to be bigger than this last move, right? My theory here, my going theory is just like kind of thinking about the psychology of OnyxCoin and people who want to participate in this, right? People were caught off guard by this move, right? Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. This was kind of the forewarning. You had time to set up for like a month and a half, and then we ripped. People didn't want to talk about it. The people that did talk about it, the only ones that did talk about it were people that were actually invested in it. But a lot of the crypto space, I was watching a lot of big accounts just passing over OnyxCoin day after day after day, and it was at like the top of the crypto bubbles or crypto coin market cap, right? The top gainer time and time again, and nobody would talk about it. Now it's given those people time to invest and maybe also even think, oh, I'm glad I didn't talk about this. Glad that I didn't invest in this. This thing's a piece of crap. It came down, right? So it's a pump and it's a dump. But that wasn't a dump. That was a very meticulous, well thought out consolidation phase. This here, right? If you were a doubter before, this probably certified that it is going to go back up. It is going to see new highs, right? You're effectively like buying here. You're buying at this area right here before this last big pump, and right now the assumption would be we do go to new highs relative to that. So there's other people besides just me who know how to do technical analysis who might have their eyes on this, right? People pay attention to the big movers, and when they're at good prices to buy, which they're at now, the big money can step in, right? And OnyxCoin has only been developing more and more stuff since all this this eruptive behavior has happened. We're not listed on Binance yet. Maybe we get a Binance listing. There's all kinds of bullish things that could happen that could drive the price higher. But really, I just think that the idea here is that people have had time. You've had time to witness what this thing's doing, to witness if it's a one and done kind of thing, or if there's hope. And this move here gives you hope. Now you have an opportunity to buy in. Even if you bought the high, you could DCA down all this time, getting a nice solid position of strength. And then with that, I would assume, and we can see it here. See, this is what I was just about to say this. I was about to say we can assume that the supply of OnyxCoin is being dried up and that the sellers are going away and people are buying. There's only buying going on right now, not so much selling. I was going to say we can assume that, but we don't have to assume that. We know that for a fact, actually, because every time OnyxCoin moves up, and we've looked at this probably like every single day for the last 2 weeks now, if not every day, most of them, right? And we look at it every day, especially on the days we move up. When we move up, we're getting volume that's above 10%, 12%, right? That's when we're getting volume that's significant, substantial, whenever we move up. Whenever we're moving down or being boring, this is, you guys, I trust whenever I tell you, because we've been paying attention to this for months, since January. Even on these moves down here, right? We didn't have 3% volume. This is some of the lowest volume we've seen for XCN in like this whole year of 2025, okay? And it's happening at the lows. When we move down, when we're boring, no volume. But when we come up, whenever we're moving up, there's like 10% volume or more. There's buying pressure being had. And again, I think that helps validate the idea that people are taking notice of this thing and they're making their plays and they're accumulating, or they're trying to time it right. The supply is drying up, and with that happening, with the supply drying up, the sellers going away, if there's no sellers left, what's left? Buyers, right? And if there's only buyers left, there's no sellers left, this thing's going to move up with ease. I think here you had some sellers left, people who bought here, who took profits, good job. Quick little trade, good job. I don't blame you. People who maybe they bought back here and they're like, what, if it gets back to where, there's probably a lot of people that bought right here in this zone. If it gets back to where I bought, I've had enough. It's been 2 months of moving down. I'm just going to sell out. And that probably happened as well, right? There's a lot of selling pressure just out of principle in this area, right? And I think we're at the golden ratio. Again, I'm theorizing. I'm painting a picture here, but I think it's based in logical thinking, reasonable thinking at least, right? With this next move, you've only got people who are here buying right now who aren't selling until this thing sees new highs. So that's what I mean. This next move will be stronger than this last move, and we're probably going to go up the minimum target truly from a high to a low, the minimum target, and I don't know why we talk about really any other target, okay? The minimum target from here is 8.2 cents to 15.7 cents. This is the primary target zone, okay? And if we look real quick, we're almost done, okay? Real quick, we're almost done. If we look at this on a weekly basis, and we look at, I'll take this high here, okay, this little pivot down here, high to low. You can see that we went all the way up to the 1886 right there. We found support resistance right at the 1886, continuing up just above the 2272, which is very common to do, to go just above the 2272, okay? So deep extensions past the golden ratio, right there. If we take this high, this pretty significant high here, to a low, right? That's your most recent pivot there, high to low. You went all the way up to the 2618, even deeper extension this time, right? Finding support at the 1414. If we take this high to low, where are we going to go? My thoughts are we probably don't stop at 15 cents. I don't think we go all the way up to 50 cents or $1. I'll be holding in case we do. I mean, that'd be phenomenal. You never know, guys. You really never know. I know it sounds crazy, but man, from a low in April all the way up to a high of like something that's 70x higher, it can happen. I mean, hell, we kind of did that last year, didn't we? November, October, from a low here in November, October, all the way up to a high. I guess that was a 42x, not a 70x. We did a 70x overall from the low. That's what it is. But I'm just saying, with more notice now and more buying pressure, it's very possible that we could go all the way up here. I don't think we will. Just like I think it's very possible we could stop at 15.7 cents, but I don't think we will. We're probably going to go to about 27 to 32 cents, and you see that's approximately the same move, a little bit less even, than what this low to high was here. Does that make sense, right? It's kind of the same move, and it would take us to new all-time highs. From the current price, the area that I think we're going to go to is 17x to a 21x, somewhere in there. I'm having a hard time finding any other coins that I can rationalize with that kind of a minimum potential. I mean, even the real minimum potential, the golden ratio here, that's like a 10x. So that's phenomenal. But for my considerable, like what I think is a reasonable minimum, 26 cents or more, we've run the numbers enough times. Now, I'm not talking about in this video. I'm talking about over the months. We've run the numbers enough times to really have strong conviction in 26 to 32 cents. I just think it makes sense that's where we're going to go. It makes sense that when we break out here, there's no selling pressure until we get up into this area at least, right? And then we'll probably consolidate going into the end of July, and then August should be the month that we see this price. If it's not August, then maybe it is July. We can move up really, really fast. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be upset if it's July, if it's August, hell, even if it's September. I'm not going to be upset if and when we get up there, you know. Ultimately, by the end of the cycle, we have dramatically higher targets than 26 to 32 cents to go. We're looking for targets that are at $1.70 to $2.60, at least $1.03 by the end of the cycle. We're at 1.48 cents now. We've got a lot of growth to go, you guys. Okay, so just buckle up, be patient, hodl, and buy the dips. Allocate more, right? Stack those bags. I got nothing else. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all. Bye-bye.